All right, buckle up, because we are diving headfirst into this EQAI Morning Briefing, September 19th, 2024. And guys, this thing is packed. It's like economic popcorn, tech stock fireworks. We've even got a little lunar launch thrown in for good measure.
It's a lot to unpack, that's for sure.
It is.
But that's why we're here. We're going to be your guides through this wild ride. We'll point out the stuff you absolutely can't miss and break it down so you can actually use it.
Exactly. So let's start with the big one, right? The Fed rate cut. Everyone's been holding their breath for this one. And boom, jobless claims dropped to 219,000, lowest we've seen since May. But, and this is key, the Fed kind of tapped the brakes a bit, this rate cut. Smaller than some folks were expecting.
That's the thing that jumps out, right? They're being cautious, not quite ready to go all in just yet. And you can see that reflected in, say, car prices. Still stubbornly high. One little rate cut isn't going to magically make those more affordable.
Yeah, it's like trying to fine-tune a really complex engine. Some parts just react differently than others.
Exactly. So for everyone listening, think about this. Is your industry more sensitive to interest rates, like housing? Or does it rely more on people feeling good about spending? That'll give you a clue about what to expect in the coming months.
Exactly, because this isn't just about understanding the news. It's about applying it to your own world, right? Okay, so we've talked about those economic ripples, but there's a ton of company news today, too.
There is. We've got some playing it safe. Corning, sticking to their profit dens. Investors seem to like that slow and steady approach. But then you've got, well, Cracker Barrel, they're trying to get folks back to those comfy booths, but it's not exactly translating to booming sales.
I know. I saw that and I thought, is it just me or have people had enough pancakes? But then maybe it's something bigger about how people are spending right now. Like, with prices still kind of high, are we hesitant to eat out as much?
$1 million question right there, isn't it? Is it a Cracker Barrel thing, or is it a sign of something more widespread in the restaurant world? Definitely something to watch, especially as we head into the holidays.
And speaking of adapting, did you see this Intel news? They're falling behind in the chip race, which sounds crazy even saying it out loud.
Yeah, it's definitely unexpected. We're talking about an industry where innovation is constant, and suddenly Intel's lagging. Makes you wonder, what's going on over there? Is this a temporary blip or a sign of bigger problems?
Right. Like, is this a chance for investors to swoop in on a comeback story? Or is it a warning sign? Huh. Okay, shifting gears a bit. Amazon just gave their warehouse workers and delivery drivers a raise, which, in this job market, pretty smart.
Oh, absolutely. They know they need to stay competitive, especially when it comes to attracting and keeping good people. But then you've got GM making a completely different move. They're teaming up with Tesla to use their supercharger network.
Talk about burying the hatchet, right? Who would have thought you'd see the day when driving a Chevy could involve a Tesla charging station? It's wild.
It is. And, it's more than just a partnership. It's a statement. GM's acknowledging that Tesla is winning when it comes to charging infrastructure. Smart move, even if it's probably a little humbling.
For sure. Makes you think about all those debates about electric versus gas and how quickly things are changing. And while we're on the topic of giant leaps forward, can we talk about this NASA contract for Intuitive Machines? $4.82 billion to explore the moon. That's not just some sci-fi fantasy anymore. That's happening.
That's a game changer. That kind of investment puts Intuitive Machines on the map for space exploration. It tells us the race back to the moon, maybe even setting up shop there permanently. It's heating up.
It really makes you think about priorities when you compare it to something like, say, the WNBA. You've got these incredible athletes. Caitlin Clark comes to mind. Breaking records, electrifying crowds. And yet, even with this new media deal, they're still fighting for fair pay, for recognition.
It's a real disconnect, isn't it? On one hand, we're pouring billions into space exploration, pushing the limits of what's possible. And on the other, you have these amazing athletes at the top of their game still struggling to be treated fairly.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what that says about us, what we value as a society. But hey, maybe some of that Intuitive Machines money will trickle down, right?
Let's hope so. Okay, let's pivot back to the world of finance for a sec, because...
So there was this thing about Moody's in the briefing, right? They gave those regional banks a pretty good grade. Like, they're feeling all right about how those banks are doing?
It does suggest a certain level of confidence, at least when it comes to the regional banks. Maybe, just maybe, this cautious rate cut from the Fed is doing what it's supposed to, calming things down without causing too much turbulence.
So does that mean we can all just, exhale now? Recession's off the table?
Hold on now, not so fast. Remember those analysts we talked about earlier? The ones saying a recession is still possible, just maybe push back a bit. This news from Moody's, it's good, but it doesn't erase everything else.
We're still walking that tightrope, huh?
In a way, yeah. But here's the takeaway, and this is important. All these things, the Fed, those regional banks, even how much people are spending at Cracker Barrel, it's all connected. You got to look for the links between these stories, how one thing influences another.
It's like those connect the dots puzzles, right? You need the whole picture, not just a few random dots.
Exactly. And with the election coming up later this year, those connections, understanding them, that's going to be key.
Speaking of the election, I saw that thing about Vice President Harris. Seems like she's gaining ground on, well, on former President Trump when it comes to, like, who people trust with the economy.
Interesting, right? As we get closer to this next election, how people feel about the economy, that's going to be huge.
It makes you wonder how voters are going to react and how it all might shake things up as we head into 2025.
No doubt about it. And really, that's what we're all about here, right? Giving you the information, the insights, helping you connect those dots so you can make sense of it all, no matter what the markets or the world throws your way.
Exactly. Consider this your cheat sheet for the EQAI Morning Briefing. The most important stuff, distilled and ready to go. Because in a world drowning in information, understanding is power.
Couldn't agree more. Until next time, stay curious.